everybody, I'm so glad you're here. This is my third video with a very special Sam's bead box. This box was called Winter Wanderer, and I say was because it was one of the subscription boxes for 2023 in December, and it's so beautiful. This is my third video. I just can't put these beads away. It was all these beautiful icy wintry blues and turquoises, and it was mostly laced with silver, but I love gold, so I'm gonna do my projects today with some scraps of gold 20 gauge wire. I'm gonna do 2 bracelets, and I think I'll be able to wear them together or separate. They're going to not be a set, but kind of coordinating. And I have one of the silicone slider bead blanks that I can add in, and that's something that I do when I really love beads and I just want to see the beads. And so these beautiful gemstone beads were in the box. I already took one of the tassels off. So the deal on this is it's very deeply discounted. They made some extra inventory of this box and they still had some. So the sale, the deep discount runs until the end of December or until they are sold out. And I'm sorry that I didn't take the time to see what they had left in quantity at the time of this filming. And like I said, it's my third video on it. And this box is discounted with a special discount code just for my audience if you're seeing this video. So you have to tap more underneath the video title and that opens the description box, and then hit more a second time to reveal the whole thing. And the code that you need to get the discount is there. And so it's a really great opportunity if you love Sam's bead box and always love what you've seen, but you don't want to commit to a monthly box because it's a chance to get one of the boxes deeply discounted. And so I'm going to do 2 more bracelets today, and I just love this box. I haven't been able to put the beads away. So these beautiful sunburst coin beads were in the box, and I just love those. And these Czech glass fire polish rounds, what a color. They're just absolutely gorgeous. I love those, but let's do this really simple bracelet first. These are Sky Appetite of faceted rondelles, and they're Indian cut. And so they're a little bit rustic, but I absolutely love that. I think it makes them look like they just came out of a mine. So I've taken 5 off the strand, and I'm gonna play with making a little bracelet bar. Even the 22 gauge does not go through those holes. Okay, so I'm gonna shift gears to my 49 strand bead stringing wire in this pretty turquoise color. Let me see if I have the spool here. I do. This is the turquoise color Soft Flex 49 strand, and let's see how that does, because I want to make a bracelet bar with these. I have sorted through and found some with large enough holes. That is really typical of pearls and gemstone beads. Sometimes they have really small holes. So I wasn't going to do my bracelet bar on 49 strand. I really wanted it on wire, but this actually may even work out better because it'll be really soft around the wrist. So I'm going to kind of create a little pattern here, just kind of play for a second, and then I'm going to go ahead and crimp one end. So on one end, I'm going to put my crimp tube on, and I'm going to let my wire, my Soft Flex wire, be exposed. I'm just going to make a loop and go back down through. And I don't know if I can open these little rings on the end. It looks like you can, but you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and put my wire through before, so then I don't have to open the loops. I can see that you can open them, but I'm going to go ahead and make my loop. So just feed that on and then loop it back down through. Make this pretty small. And then I'm going to fit that number 2 crimp tube squarely in the middle of my tool, close down. So now it's a square with 4 pinched corners. And now I just go in the opposite direction. It just went right in the middle. I felt it go in, close the tool, and then just open and close while I hold that spot and go around a few times. Don't have a lot to hold on to yet on this. Just makes the prettiest little 11-0 bead. If you feel like it needs more shaping, you can fit it back in the middle and go around a couple more times, but look how beautiful. Just love that. So then I can feed down. I know that my wire is not going to go through those little apatite beads, so I'm going to trim a little bit off. And just feed everything down. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Put my crimp tube on, and without twisting, I don't want to twist, try to get this on here straight. I'm just going to go through that other loop and loop back down over the loop and through the crimp tube and into that spacer bead. And I'm just going to get everything on my little bracelet bar nice and tight the way I want it. And that looks really good. Look how sweet that is. I have never done one of these bracelets with the soft flex wire, but honestly, it's so malleable and beautiful. The regular craft wire not fitting through those beads was definitely an opportunity to do something new, and it might even be better than what I started out to do. So I'm gonna come in and do the same exact thing on this side, fit that number 2 crimp tube right in the middle of my tool and get it crimped. I'm gonna get in here as close as I can and snip, and I save my scraps of wire for my ring components. So I know so many of you have seen, but I make these little ring connectors with my scraps of my 49 strands. So that is going in my scrap bag. And this beautiful little bracelet is done. Look at this, one size fits all. It's fully adjustable. They're so easy to take on and off with the silicone slider bead. Look at that. And I absolutely love it with the Soft Flex 49 strand. And I even love if you match your color to your project, like this turquoise. Look how pretty that is meeting up on the gold. That is just a gorgeous bracelet. I will put a link to these blanks, to these silicone slider blanks as well in the description box. These are really nice ones. They're gold plated and they have a little cubic zirconia on the drop, you know, where the silicone bead goes down. So that is a fun, fast bracelet that fits anybody. These make such great gifts, and you can create just a little bracelet bar without too many beads, without too much labor. That is just so pretty. Okay, and so we're gonna jump to the next project, and I have to tell you, I really wanted to do, I hadn't anticipated my apatite beads not fitting on anything, but I really wanted to do the component for this next bracelet on the 49 strand, but this bead, this coin bead, would be the center of that component, and 2 strands do not go through. This Czech glass coin also has a really small hole. So like I can only get one strand in there. The other strand is just simply not going to go. And to make this component, I really need two strands to go in there. So what I have here is a piece of the Pro Econoflex from Softflex. It's also 49 strand, but it's fine. And I'll just show you in my little testing that I did when I bring both strands together and put them through the hole. They just slide right in very easily. So sometimes you have to make adjustments in your designs for, you know, different beads have different holes. I think I'm also going to put out some gold 11-0 Toho beads. They match the color of my gold silicone slider. That is way more than I will need, but we'll leave those out here. And then what I'm going to do is thread on a few of these. I'm going to make a little bead pattern. So I'm going to do like 3. I'm going to do like 6, a Czech glass. So the pattern looks like that, and I'll show you why I've chosen that. I'm going to now bring these 2 strands together and go through one of my Czech glass coin beads with both strands. And I'm going to pull this up. So I'm really making a connector here. And so I want this part on both sides to be free of like chunky beads or anything, because that's where my that's where I'm going to connect to make my bracelet. But I'm also not happy, even though these are 11-0 seed beads, they're competing for space there. So I'm going to look for a bead, like a large hole spacer bead. I don't know if these hematite ones will work. Sometimes they have pretty small holes. But the reason is a large hole, a little bit larger hole bead will give the 2 wires a little bit of space. And look at that, actually did work. See that? Let me put the Czech glass round on and I'll show you. It's just a little bit of a trick when you need 2 strands to go, you know, from being 2 strands into a single hole bead. So look how much better that is. See that little spacer bead with a tiny bit bigger hole actually helps so that the seed beads feed into this coin without competing for space. So let's put another one on this side and string the same pattern on this side. So I'm going to get out another number 2 crimp tube, and I have 10 seed beads on the top of the loop on this side of my connector. So on this side, I did the same pattern, 6 and 6, a fire polish, and I did 5 seed beads on this side and only 4 on this side, because that's where my crimp tube is going to go. Feed my crimp tube, doesn't really matter which side, but on the side where I have omitted a seed bead, and then run this wire back through it in the opposite direction. And the fine 49 strand bead stringing wire is much too fine for the magical crimping plier to do its job, because there's too much empty space inside the crimp tube. So the trick for that is to use a dummy wire. And on this fine wire with only 2 in there, I have even found that I need to put 2 dummy wires. The way to get a good strong crimp with this is to make sure there's no empty space in the crimp tube. So I'm just going to take those 2 scraps of the regular 49 strand medium bead stringing wire and just feed it through the crimp tube with my fine wire that everything is actually strung on. So it looks a little bit like a walrus, but the dummy wire really does help. As long as it fills up the space inside the tube, you'll get a good crimp. So it's just a little trick for making this work. And the reason I really want to make this work is because the magical crimping plier takes a number 2 or 2 millimeter crimp tube, and makes it look like an 11-0 seed bead when it's crimped. So, you know, 11-0 seed beads are 2 millimeters. So that's the method to the madness here. So, and the tool does like it pushes your beads out a little bit, but I have it fitted so I felt it go right in the middle. And I'm just going to give these two, not my dummy wire, but my stringing wire, I'm just going to give them a pull, and sometimes I get like a finger on each side like that and then close down. So I've made my little square with the 4 pinched corners. I basically just filled up all the empty space. And now opposite direction, close again, and now just go around, opening and closing the tool, really forming it into a little 11-0 seed bead, and, you know, like grabbing all those wires that are inside. So when we take it away, we have this really pretty little bead that's exactly like an 11-0 seed bead, and it kind of makes this an infinity loop. And so now I'm just going to, as close as I can, come in and snip all those wires off. And look at that sweet little component. It's just so pretty. And a non-jewelry maker, that's just magical. They don't know how it's held together. So what I think I'm gonna do is attach this component to some wire components and make like an unusual beaded chain. So let's see if my 20 gauge, the 20 gauge wire, I wondered what I picked up. So these coins do not want to go through 20 gauge. Oh, it's just because I have a blocked hole. It never fails. You guys that have been on my channel before, you know that that's my superpower, is picking up a bead in every video that has something in the hole. So I have a set of these little handheld reamers, and they work wonders for clearing things out of bead holes. I mean, it happens, you know. It's amazing, all these little glass works of art. It's amazing that there's even a hole in there, to be honest. See? Just works wonders. Sometimes they just need a little bit of attention. So I think what I'm gonna do is make some components here, but I'm gonna need a bigger loop. This is the loop I was gonna use for that bracelet. I'm gonna need a bigger loop because I want my bracelet to be articulated, and it's going to have to go over these seed beads. So I'm gonna go up to my 2 1/4 millimeter one-step looper. When I'm making a beaded chain, I love this tool. So I'm just gonna create some components like that. Look at this bracelet. It's so beautiful and interesting. So I wanted to have 3 of my coin beads, and then I'm gonna play with mixing in the Saturn beads and maybe even a couple more of the fire polish beads. These were all my favorites from this box, although, as I said, it was really hard to put the beads away and stop working with it because it's all so beautiful. Okay, you guys, my camera battery died on me, but I didn't get too far. I put a jump ring, a fancy diamond cut gold filled jump ring on this end, and one of my favorite lobster claw clasps that has this swivel feature, so it makes putting your bracelets on and off really easy. And I've connected like odd numbers. So I had one coin bead on the component that I made, and then 2 coin beads on the outside of the component. And then I put 3 of those Saturn beads on the other end. And I have this beautiful chain. I just love this. I'll link this for you. I just found this. It's anti-tarnish. It's solid stainless steel, and I think it's absolutely beautiful, and it feels just like great quality. You know, nothing beats fine metals or precious metals, but upping your quality on chain and things can really give you a jewelry look of fine jewelry. So what I love about this design is, you guys, I said it at the beginning, this is a rather expensive cut to do, these Saturn beads. They are faceted around the rim. They have a Picasso wash on them. The coin beads are pressed glass, but they also have a wash. And like the beads here are just so beautiful, these faceted Czech glass rounds. And I always love to see the beads, like really see the beads. So floating them on a wire like this and just making them be a component. I mean, look at all the facets and the different colors in the glass around the Saturn beads, and they're so rustic and just artisan. I just love them. I love the coin beads, like the whole thing. So look at this bracelet. It's so interesting. It's not just beads strung on a line, and it is a rosary chain or like a classic beaded chain, but you know, with a little twist, like it's a little bit different. So what I'm gonna do is make a dangle for the final drop. This is prime real estate, that final drop on an extender chain. But I wanted to show you, and I'm so busy playing with my beads. But what I did is made up the difference in the length that I need with 5 links of that chain. And then my lobster claw clasp can clasp anywhere. I'll use probably those 2 all the time, but it makes the bracelet adjustable. So if I have a sleeve or something, excuse me, I've been talking a lot. I'm trying to get my work done today and having a lot of troubles. But what I'm going to do here is just do I'm going to do a wire wrapped loop here, just because my ball head pin is so fine. So I'm going to put a 90-degree bend in there and come in with my round nose pliers and bring that wire over the tip, rotate the pliers, bring this wire around, and then you can either roll your wrist or push the beads. I just take a second here to center that loop on my beads, and I just think it's so pretty. And now I'm going to get a hold of that loop and just get it started, and then I'm going to wrap down to my beads. Let me just tuck that tiny little wire. I don't want to see it or feel it. And then I'm just going to take a little jump ring, a really small jump ring, maybe one of these from my gold assortment, and just pop that little dangle on the end. There it goes. So I found another apatite bead that I could get on my head pin, and I just kind of repeated some of the elements that I've used in my other pieces. And maybe you noticed that while I was waiting for my camera to charge a little bit, I could not help myself. I had extra beads, and so I'm gonna have my favorite type of a jewelry set is bracelets and earrings. I don't wear a necklace every day, but rare is the day that I go without earrings and a bracelet. And look at this. Again, just floating those beautiful beads on the wire so you really see the beads. And they're just accented with my favorite metal. This box was really silver heavy, so you could totally do this with silver, but I'll show you how I did it. It's a head pin earring, all in one head pin earring, and they're so fun and easy to make. And on top of that, they fit in your ears, in your piercings, and hang just perfectly. It is probably my favorite way to make an earring. So I have my prime real estate on the end of my extender chain decorated, and I absolutely love this bracelet. I just think this is gorgeous. I just love it. I mean, it's so pretty. It's so unique. It's a little bit competing with my pink ice bracelet, but look how beautiful. Like, no matter which way it turns around, there's beautiful Czech glass. Even if it goes on the side where the clasp is, there's classic beaded chain and this really cool, interesting, like, infinity component. Like, nobody that really knows how that's held together. I absolutely love this, and to be honest, I would stack it with this. And as I said, I started out really wanting a bracelet bar out of wire for this bracelet, but I may start making these types of bracelets from now on with my soft flex wire. Just coordinate it to my beads. I love the little bit of color attaching to the loop, and like, I can wear those as a set. I just absolutely love, love, love it. Okay, I'm gonna take them off and lay them on my mat so we can look at them while we make the earring, which will take like 60 seconds, if even that. I'm gonna talk, so it'll take a little longer, but I have a 2-inch ball head pin, and it's a really good one. It's solid brass, and I'm going to put my Saturn bead on, and since these are all quite different, I'm just gonna choose the side that I think is the prettiest that will be on the top. But I am insane about those facets and all the color variation in this glass, so I really love floating it this way. And one of my disc spacers, and I'll link these as well. This is an assortment with silver, gold, what's in there, copper, and I can't remember if it's gunmetal, but I think there's 4 different metals in there. And it's that simple. I'm putting 2 beads and a disc spacer, and then I'm gonna take my pliers and come to the top of my top bead, and I'm looking at the front of my earring, and I'm gonna bend this toward me at a pretty sharp angle, like 45 degrees. And I just wanna check that bend keeps that top bead on. And so my bend is good because the bead is staying on. And then I'm gonna use my 6-step bail making plier, and I'm gonna be wrapping around this largest step. So I'm gonna put this in again so that I'm focusing on the front of my earring, and I don't want it like wonky like that. I want to take a second and make sure it's nice and straight, and I'm wrapping away from me around the largest barrel. And when I take it away, the ear wire is formed. And what I love about doing this with just a couple of beads and a 2-inch head pin is that I don't have to cut or measure anything. They're exactly the same because I didn't cut. I used the full length of the head pin, and I'm just gonna line it up with my flat nose plier, kick that out a little bit, and look at that. It's so stunning. It looks like fine jewelry. This is one of my favorite ways to make earrings. When I was a little girl, one of my first really good pairs of earrings, my aunt had purchased them for me from a jeweler, and they were on a 14-karat gold ball head pin with a single freshwater pearl on the bottom. And I wore those earrings and wore them and wore them. And when my house was burglarized, those were one of the things that were gone. And, you know, it was just one of the things I missed so much because it was a keepsake as well. One of my first really fine pieces of jewelry. But as I started really making jewelry, I started thinking, I was laying in bed one night and I thought, I can make those. I can make as many of those as I want. So I do now, and that's exactly what they look like. And to me, they have a jewelry store like fine jewelry quality. So, and with the gemstones in this box, like these beautiful apatite Indian cut beads and the Czech glass. And again, I love gold, so I popped gold in with this, but that, you know, tells you when you get the box, you could do copper if you love copper. Gunmetal would be beautiful with this. Like, it's such a beautiful color story. So Winter Wanderer is the name of the box. The link will be in the description box with the special code just for you if you're watching my video. And there's also a link there to shop other past boxes, but I just have a discount on this particular one Again, Winter Wanderer. And I thank you so much for watching. Treat yourself to one of Sam's bead boxes. You'll never be disappointed. And it's such a great opportunity to get the box without signing up for the monthly commitment. So I thank you again. I will see you guys in the next video. Ciao, everybody.